What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Combat and Kick It. You already know, it's your host, Bando, and I am talking about this UFC Abu Dhabi card that got thrown together oh so randomly by Sir Dana White. Comes through dropping this Abu Dhabi card, and I was shocked when I saw some of the matchups. So let's talk about it real quick. So, this Abu Dhabi card, like I said, came out of nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Came out of nowhere. Like, what? Whoa. If you've seen it already, then you know what's up, right? But we already had Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov set up, ready to go. This is something that's been planned, been in the making for a while, right? A fight that was supposed to happen, fell out, now we're finally getting it. And that's the headliner of this event. And the co-main event is a return of a fighter. The fight before that is a return of two fighters. Look, I don't know what Dana was thinking. I don't know what the matchmakers were thinking. But we got the return of Michael Chiesa going up against the returning Tony Ferguson. Now look, Tony has been undefeated in 2024 if you're hip and you know what I'm talking about. The man has not lost because the man has not fought. Why must we do this? Why must we do this? Do we really have to see this? Right? Is it a possible fight that Tony could win? I want to say yes. But the versions of Tony that we have had would tell us otherwise, right? It would definitely tell us otherwise. I want to see that El Kukui. I want to see that Savage come out. Everything that we all became a fan of Tony for, but I don't think it. I don't think it's there no more. And it's not a bad thing to hang it up, right? If he loses this one, then there's no other. I don't really know what else you try to even do with Tony Ferguson if he loses this one. You know, you gotta end up having him hang it up, right? Dana White paid Chuck Liddell to stop, you know, so I mean you could do something like that again. But I know Tony loves the fight. I know he loves this game. You know, it's gonna be hard to take this guy away from the game, but at the same time, I don't want to continuously see him lose. I don't think anybody else does, right? And then the co-main event, you got a returning Nick Diaz. You heard that correctly. A returning Nick Diaz selling wolf tickets.
You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up. George here is selling you wolf tickets. Dana here, he's selling you wolf tickets. The UFC is selling you some wolf tickets. You guys are eating them right up.
So Nick is returning. I almost said Nate because I'm not used to Nick being back, right? Nick, I've been a fan of Nick for years, bro. You don't even understand, right, how sick I am at the fact that this man had to sit out all them years of could have been prime years for him. He had to sit out because of the thing that I am puffing on right at this moment. Which obviously, the whole thing around marijuana now is different than it once was, right? The people don't look at it the same way. Obviously, people know everything about it, know a little bit more about it, a little bit more educated about it. Some more people have smoked. You know, there's a lot of different people that you wouldn't even expect to smoke that do smoke. But the man was suspended for 7 years. That's straight just 7 years of prime fighting, right? Nate became a star in those years, right? Nate grew to stardom. He ended up becoming a huge star because of fighting Conor McGregor, getting a win over Conor, the shit talking, all the hype, the promotions, the other fights, the BMF title, all these different things, right? You know, Nate grew to being a huge star. But all that could have been Nick too. Because the same thing that you like about Nate Diaz, you enjoy about Nick Diaz. But Nick is going up against Vicente Luque. Obviously, we already know Vicente Luque is a savage in there. He's a savage in there who hasn't looked great in his last fights. Right? Lost to Buckley. I think he was coming off another loss before that. So he hasn't been looking great in his last fight. So he kind of needs a win. So going into this fight, to me, it doesn't do much for him if he wins. Now, it's big for Nick Diaz. If Nick wins this fight, it's huge, right? Everybody's going to be super excited that Nick Diaz won the fight. Seeing him get the win, seeing him get his hand raised. Hopefully, he gets it in old Diaz fashion. You see him taunting and everything like that. But it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. Vicente Luque is a tough fight for anybody. He really is. He's a savage. But like I said, hasn't looked great in his last fights. Obviously, needs something to get that boost back, to get that kick back, to get that confidence back to win a fight. And I think the UFC thought this might be the right thing to do, might be the matchup to make, but I don't see no benefit in this matchup except for Nick if Nick gets the win. Now, of course, I want to see Nick win. I want to see Tony win. I want to see Nick win. That's like wanting to see Dustin Poirier win Saturday and Tony and Nick Diaz to both win on the same card. All this in 1 year. And Mike Tyson to beat Jake Paul. Not just beat him, knock him out. And then maybe Conor McGregor beat Michael Chandler, get the return. And then all this chaotic stuff can happen in the span of the next 2 months, right? But I don't see it happening. I don't see Nick coming back and being super sharp or anything like that. I don't see him getting like finished or anything like that. I just don't see him being extremely sharp. Who knows? I could be wrong. He did look good in the Robbie Lawler fight, so I could be wrong. He looked really good in the Robbie Lawler fight. Not in shape, but his boxing was good. He was throwing good combinations. He just wasn't doing anything. And this is the thing, you can't hurt a guy like Robbie Lawler, right? You can't really put him back. He's hard to sit back. Power, you need power. You need cracking power. That's why Tyron Woodley was able to knock him out, because at the time Tyron Woodley was chucking bombs at people, right? Hard to believe now, right? But either way, Robbie Lawler's a tough one to push back, but so is Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is a savage. He's got a good chin, right? He's been knocked a couple times, but he has a pretty good chin. And Nick's not known to crack in these later years. Obviously, you saw him against Anderson. He didn't do much. Then you have the long suspension, and then you get into him fighting Robbie, and he's got no pop in his punches, right? So I don't see Nick getting this finish. I don't see Nick getting finished. I can see this going to a decision, but I just want to see Nick Diaz do his thing in there, look good, land some good shots, dictate the pace, dictate the way the fight is going to go. If the fight goes to the ground, throw some beautiful submissions up. You already know he was great off his back. Back in the day, he was really good off his back. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is fantastic. The Diaz brothers' jiu-jitsu is really good. I think Nate has so much fun in there the way he fights that I think he abandons the fact that he is a good jiu-jitsu artist. But Nick's different. Nick's in there for the finish. Nick's not playing no games. I mean, he will taunt and play games, but he's in there for the finish. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, to see him and Tony win in the same night would be a MMA miracle. And it's crazy because I don't even want to see them, it's not like I want to see Vicente Luque and Michael Chiesa both lose. It's just, it's one of those things. I think Nick has a better chance than Tony, right? Tony just has not given me anything. He hasn't given me anything in these last fights, man. So I don't want to see him go out there and do the same thing he's been doing. He looked decent in the Patty fight, but still, he couldn't get past Paddy Pimblett. Paddy looked good. Give him props. Paddy did well. I think Paddy is he's evolving more. But, Tony just couldn't do his thing. Tony can't do his thing. His movement's different. He's slower. He doesn't have the same pop. It's okay to understand the fact that he's gotten old. He's lost some tough fights. That Gaethje fight was not the best thing for him. And ever since then, he's been on a downslope. And if you lose this one, There ain't nothing you can do. It's probably time to call it. That's what I would think. That's truthfully what I would say, is that it's time to call it. Because overall, when you look at this career of Tony Ferguson, the more he loses, right? The more he loses, the more you're gonna sit back and look at him like he's trash, when he had such a fantastic career, the 11 fight win streak in the hardest division in the UFC. He was doing his thing. He was the looks of people's faces. The looks of people's faces after fighting Tony Ferguson were like bloodied up, cut up everywhere. It was like fighting against a razor blade. And that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for that Tony. I'm looking for that Tony. One that can be a threat in there again. Cut somebody open. Get that confidence brewing. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Right? With Nick, who knows? Selling wolf tickets. It's wolf tickets. Then on the same card, you got Deiveson Figueiredo and Marlon Vera. Beautiful matchup. This is a fight that can go either way. Marlon Vera can get this W if Deiveson Figueiredo tests him. I know this sounds weird, or I know this sounds crazy, but Sean isn't like a pushing, pressured, pace type of fighter, right? Sean was a technical guy. He's very technical. He's very fast. He's in and out. He moves side to side, right? I think that's hard for Cheeto to plant and get going, right? But a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo who presses forward, if he presses forward and they keep this fight on the feet, I think this is going to cause Marlon Vera to come out and throw more punches and have more volume and actually get going. Because you know if Marlon gets going, he's a problem. But he has that issue of not going until the end. You know what I'm saying? He don't start until it's time to finish. And that's the biggest issue with him, and that's been one of the biggest problems I've noticed in his career. Because his striking is beautiful. He's got power. He's got good kicks, right? He's got good jiu-jitsu. I don't know what his takedown defense really is. I haven't seen him against a crazy good wrestler, right? This one's going to be interesting because you know Deiveson Figueiredo, he's not like a high-level crazy wrestler or anything like that, but his ground game is legit. So if he can get him down, he goes for the finish. 95% of the time he takes somebody down, he's shooting and going for the finish, and I can see him doing that. I can see him going for the finish if he does get him down. So we'll see what happens in that one. But Figueiredo and Marlon Vera, that's going to be a fantastic fight. Like I said, if Marlon gets pushed a little bit and brings more volume, he's got a chance. But I can see Figgy just shooting, taking it down, getting the finish, calling it a night. We'll see what happens. But if Figgy does that, then you're looking at this dude's a problem for 135 now. And you got to start pushing him and elevating him. I don't think that he would have much success against Sean. I think that the size difference it would play a huge factor in that fight. But I think he could put on really good performances and have a lot of fun fights and get close. I think he could definitely get close, right? But I just don't see him becoming a champion or anything like that in the division. But we'll see. Winning fights like this, they lead you to that position. So that's a massive fight. Massive fight. And on a big card. It's a free card on ABC in Abu Dhabi. That's massive. You know, it's obviously not as big as a UFC 300, not as big as a 303, not as big as most pay-per-views, but it's just as big as a pay-per-view, just not as big as most of them, right? But this is a solid card. This is a solid card, but the only thing about it is it's like solid because we know the names. At the end of the day, it's really not that great. You threw a couple big names on the card like Nick Diaz and Tony Ferguson returning to grab everybody's eyes, to grab attention. But realistically, we know we're not watching the same versions of them that we always enjoyed watching. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with this fight, with these fights, and what's going to happen with Nick Diaz's career from here on out, and what's going to happen with Tony Ferguson's career. Because if Tony loses this, man, there's nothing. You got to snip it. You got to cut him. There's just nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. You know, this isn't like other sports. You go on a, 7-game losing streak, right? It's good. You're fine. Fine. For baseball, you got 100-something games in a season. For basketball, you got, hell, I don't even know how many games basketball is, but it's a lot of games, right? Football, you got not as many. If you go 8 in a row in football, then shit. You might be chalked on that one. But going 7, 8 fights, losing streak, it's no good. Yeah, man, that's a problem. It really is a problem. And I don't want to continue to see Tony in that position. I don't want to see Tony lose like that. You know, another fight on the card, you got Mackenzie Dern and Lupi Goodenez. Good little women's matchup. You know, Mackenzie Dern, hopefully she can come through with some better striking than she did in her last fight. Right? We already know her jiu-jitsu is beautiful. If she gets the fight to the ground, it's never a problem. It really is never a problem. But she has no hands. She keeps the chin way up in the air. She just swings reckless. Right? You saw her against Jessica Andrade. She was just swinging reckless, right? She looked good at first, but then she just started swinging reckless and leaving so many openings, and you just can't do that. And Lupi's got good hands too, and she's not going to be afraid to strike. Obviously, we know Mackenzie's more of the threat on the ground, so it's very dangerous for Lupi to fuck around on the ground with Mackenzie Dern. But if Mackenzie is going to be throwing the way she was throwing in that last fight, she might get pieced up again. But that's a good fight. It really is a solid fight. What else do you got on here? You got Alonzo Minefield going up against Azamat Mirzakhanov. Alonzo Minefield. He's coming off a loss too? I think he's coming off a loss as well. But that's the card. And then, like I said, the main event, the headliners, Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. And personally, to me, if there is any person that's going to be able to defend this man's takedowns and be able to strike with him, handle him, it's Corey Sandhagen. That's why everybody else in the division ducked Umar. Nobody else wants to fight Umar. And Corey's like, I'm top of the division. I really should be in line for a title shot. But no, I'll take this fight. I'll take this dangerous ass fight. This threat of a fight. Because Corey don't give no fucks. And I think Corey's got one of the best IQs in the division. And I think Corey is also the kryptonite for Sugar Sean O'Malley. People don't think that, but trust him. Trust in that one. Trust in that one. Because if Merab doesn't get past Sean, right? Sean continues to defend this belt. And Corey goes out there and does to Umar what I believe he's going to do. Sean's got another thing coming if he thinks he's going to be able to walk through this guy. The striking is close. The size is close. The movement is close. It's either going to be a beautiful technical matchup, which usually could cause for it to be boring, or it could be a slugfest. We know Corey's not afraid to get in a little scrap. Sean's starting to show that he's willing to engage. He's just very defensive. He's very clean. He doesn't get hit. He avoids the punches. He avoids shots very close. But he's not afraid to get into scraps. But I think if we're talking dog for dog, it's going to be hard to outdog Corey Sandhagen. So see what happens. If Corey gets past Umar, like I said, that's title bound. There's no other option. Even if Merab wins, doesn't matter. There's no other option. If Corey Sandhagen wins this fight, he's title bound. He doesn't have to beat anybody. Who else would he have to beat in the division? Really, who else would he have to beat? He's one of those guys that's fighting every single person in the division. If they put him in front of somebody, or if they put somebody in front of him, he is signing on a dotted line because he does not care. That's a savage right there. That's the BMF of the bantamweight division, truth be told. So, yeah, pretty decent card. But yeah, I just wanted to come through and talk about that card because it was thrown to us so randomly, so quick, so randomly. And I didn't mean to make like a full breakdown on this, but I'm smoking and rambling, and that's just what this podcast is. It's your boy Bando from Combat and Kick It. The combat is the fight aspect, and the rest of it is me just kicking it. You know what it is. I appreciate you guys for watching me ramble about this stuff. I really do. I appreciate for the interactions, any interactions I get on this stuff. I'm really happy just to see anybody commenting on it, talking about the fights. I love talking about fights. I love talking about these fights, man. I really love this sport. This sport is a fantastic sport. It's keeping my mind always on something, focused on something. Even when I'm not like physically doing something, I'm locked in. There's an obsession with something. So, I always think it's good to have a healthy obsession, and I feel like this is my healthy obsession. So, yeah, I love to do this, and I hope to continue to do this, make more content. I'm going to continue to put stuff out. Hopefully this is going to go to the point where I want it to go, where I can start bringing people on. I could do those FaceTime fucking Zoom calls and shit like that. I can go to events. It's not like I can't now. I can go to events now, but I want to be able to go to events and stream it and vlog it. But I got to do it for a little bit more than what I got. You know what I mean? Like I want to show a lot of people some dope stuff and make this a really fun page to watch, right? Hopefully one day it can grow. I could talk to some fighters on here, get some people on to tell some stories, to talk about their life, to smoke a doob and talk about fights. That's just what it is. So like I said, I appreciate you for watching, commenting, doing any support, any type of support. I really do appreciate it. Just make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you know when the next episode is out, and I'll catch you then. Your boy Bando's out.